Welcome to Sales Strategy, a podcast about sales, business, and strategy, brought to you by NathanManthoneke.com. Welcome to our podcast this week, and what we are going to be talking about is about something that maybe you don't associate that much with sales or with business strategy, that has to do with time management. I've been talking this morning for a company in Estonia, funny enough, about this subject, and it might not seem 100% related, but it has a tremendous impact in our success as business owners and sales professionals. So I was just thinking that maybe it's a great thing to share. How do you feel about time management, and what are the best practices? What have you learned, and what can help you improve in that area, important area of business and strategy? And this is a time in the year where I'm recording this, which is summer already. People are thinking or slipping into many temptations already. In southern Europe, in Andalusia, a lot of people are already in summer mode. So they are already hitting the beach and the chiringuitos, which are like little pubs or bars by the beach. And some of them are not really managing well because they are focusing more on the summer activities already rather than in their businesses. And they are paying the price. There are so many things they want to do, so many things they want to meet. And it's difficult to attend all those. And you know this term that I coined called FOMOing, this fear of missing out. And they're already attending more networking events and more mixers than what they can afford. And they are leaving so many aspects of their business unattended and disorganized. They are not really following their own priorities and their own calendars. They are joining every single flashy initiative that is there, and that leads to very poor time management. So that affects the way they feel, and then they feel a little bit guilty because people in their business, they are calling them to order and saying, why you haven't done this, you're supposed to do that, you are the leader of the business, or you are not selling as much as you should, where all your time is going. Why are you not managing to do all these things? And the same goes during your holidays or during our summer, doesn't it? Because sometimes we have all these great purposes. This summer I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to read this so many books, I'm going to write my book, whatever it is. And then the whole summer goes and we haven't done it. And that's a horrible feeling. So that's the idea. How can we, it's okay to go with the flow, to have this mindset where you're just doing nothing. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing for a while when you're on holidays and vacations. But what can we do so we manage the time in a way that doesn't make us feel that we've been procrastinating, and then we have all that guilt. Not to feel that we've been wasting the time. So one of the things that I want to share with you is the perception of time. Sometimes that's our worst enemy. We don't have the perception that time is always as valuable. As you grow older, as you may know, time seems to slip away faster than before. And if you can remember a few years back, or many years back in some cases, when you were a kid, don't you have the feeling that summers lasted forever? Didn't it feel like days were a lot longer? You were bored. I remember the feeling of being extremely bored to death. And it felt like it went on and on every day, and hours seemed to be so long. Now I'm in my early 40s, and time goes so fast. Many people think they control how the day goes, but in reality, so many people allow so many distractions into the day, and therefore they cannot get the most critical tasks for them done on time. And this means that they procrastinate. And that has a very serious psychological effect on the success in both in the personal and the professional lives. And I don't remember from where you might have heard this, but This analogy brought by a colleague of mine called Laura Kukelmilk, she shared this point. Imagine that you were a client of a bank, and this bank every morning gave you 86,400 euro or dollars or pounds, whatever it is. 86,400 euro or pounds or dollars every single day. And they told you, hey, every day you get the same amount, you can do whatever you want with the money, but you can't transfer what's left of it at the end of the evening. You can't. So if you fail to use the day's deposit, it's a loss. You're not going to have that back ever. What would you do? How would you use that money? Wouldn't you make sure that you cash out all the money you can every single day? Well, of course you would. Well, in reality, all of us, you and me, we have that bank. We have such bank, and it's called the Bank of Time. And every single morning, when you wake up, it credits you with the same amount. You get 86,400 seconds. How much of it are you willing to lose by not organizing yourself properly? How much of it? Because it will never, ever go back. So I think that's a powerful analogy, isn't it? Because it helps us to see, or at least to wonder how we are using that time and whether we appreciate time or not. And just to help a little bit, I love these stories. There's another little story or little thing to help us see how different people perceive time. You may think a year more or less, is not a big a deal. For example, when you're in your 20s. There's a powerful TED Talk by a lady, clinical psychologist from Berkeley, that is called 30s Are Not the New 20s, or something like that I loved, and it really expressed that concept. But to realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who failed a grade and had to repeat a whole year of study. That's tremendous. They hate it, and that year feels so long and painful. So the value of 1 year, ask that person, and they would tell you. What about the value of 1 month? You may think, hey, if I don't do this critical task this month and I do it next month, I don't know, no big a deal. Well, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby if 1 month matters. It certainly does. The mother may be scared to death, depending on the conditions of that baby, is something really critical. So it does matter. 1 month can make a huge difference on many things. What about 1 week? Well, to realize the value of 1 week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper. And they will tell you, in money, in actual pounds or dollars or euro, how much they value 1 week, and if they have 1 week extra, what they would do with it. What about the value of 1 hour? You can say, well, 1 hour lost this day, it goes nowhere. Well, there's a poetic one here. Ask the lovers who are waiting to meet and tell them they had to wait another hour to see each other. Well, of course they value that hour. What about the value of 1 minute? Have you ever been that person who missed a plane or a train literally by 1 minute? It does make a difference, 1 minute. Arriving late to meetings, not accomplishing things when you have given your word for it, it does make a difference. In the part of the world where I live, people think and say that it's okay to be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes late. And they call it courtesy time, which is really weird because it's the upside down world. Courtesy is when you arrive early and you value everybody else's time. You don't expect people to start late because you are disorganized and disrespectful with other people's time. So it does make a difference. 1 minute does make a difference. What about 1 second? Well, to realize the value of 1 second, ask a person who just avoided an accident by 1 second. Maybe a bus or maybe a car didn't hit them because of 1 second. Let's get even more picky. Let's get into 1 millisecond. So to realize the value of 1 millisecond, ask the person who finished second on a race in the Olympics. Wow, that stings. They will never forget that 1 millisecond that made them win the silver medal instead of the gold medal. So time is valuable, and we should treasure every moment that we have. So what advice could we share? What ideas have we come across that help us to be mindful about where our time goes and how we can better manage it? Well, the concepts that we discussed is the golden nugget, the 888 rule. And this idea is very old, is common knowledge, but that doesn't mean that it's less powerful. So the first one, you know that you are sleeping every day. You're supposed to, at least. And this golden nugget says that we should have around 8 hours that we always respect for resting and sleeping. And that's the norm, 8 hours, between 7 and 9. But different people, different ages, would need different times or different lengths of time to sleep. Some people are sleeping 6 hours and they love it. They are perfectly energized, super healthy and very happy. Some people need 9 to 10 hours. But what's the point? If you sleep consistently, less than 6 hours or a lot more than 10, your energy levels are going to drop. You're going to feel drained, and that's going to affect both your health and your psychology. You're going to feel less energized, way more tired, and everything else, everything that is negative, or even if it's not negative, you're going to find things very challenging because you're not going to feel your best. Sleep is so important. Then you've got recreation, 8 hours for everything that makes you feel good and that makes you feel that your life has a purpose and has a meaning. And it could be your spirituality. If you have any belief and you do some sort of certain worship, whether you're a Muslim or a Catholic or whatever it is that rocks your boat. Or what if you have any hobbies like cinema or horse riding or, I don't know, playing a musical instrument. It includes your nutrition, your physical training, or your PE, whatever exercise that you do, your personal hygiene, your family, your friends, spending time with people that you love. All those things, we can categorize them as recreation, but in reality it's everything that you do that is not work and is not resting and sleeping. So those 8 hours, not everybody values them the same, but it's equally important. That is why it's a rule of 8 hours. And then you got 8 hours for your work, your obligations, and that's quite normal. It's quite acceptable. But it's okay sometimes to go beyond those 8 hours. What is not okay is if you make that a habit or you have some sort of addiction to work, and then you find yourself that you're doing 12 hours work. Some people are doing crazy hours, 14, 16 hours a day of work. And sometimes you've got a massive project, you've got a crisis in your business, and you find yourself that you have to do crazy amount of hours working because maybe the business is yours, you're the entrepreneur or the business owner, and you feel you have to do that for a time. And if it has to be temporary, sometimes it's a must. You have no choice. But don't abuse it, because that's not a normal, healthy, sustainable working lifestyle or working style. I know that from the perspective of psychology, there are a few things that can affect you there. But I would like to share a few examples of things that we need to bear in mind, to take into account in this aspect. And the reason why is because this 888 rule applies, but sometimes when you are between, let's say, 25 and 40 something, you're 42-year-old, for example, you feel that you can take a loan on these 8 hours of sleep. or you feel that you can mess about a little bit and you can have an unbalanced routine, you feel that it's okay to spend 10 hours of recreation, or you think that it's okay to go partying like crazy for many days in a row, or you feel that it's okay to work those 14, 16 hours for days and days. And when you are in that age bracket between 25 and 43 or 44, let's say that you feel kind of okay. You recover well, you recover relatively fast. But if you do this before you're 25, or after you are 42, 44 years old, let me tell you, is not my opinion, it does happen. You will pay for this loan, so to speak, with your own health. You will pay sooner rather than later with your own health. You're not going to feel the same, and you're going to have tremendous consequences to your health. And it is not to be preachy, or I don't mean to scare you, but I know so many people that used to say, "Nah, there's this silly stuff. I'm okay. I'm solid as a rock." But so many of my own friends, crazy young, like on the 30s or 40s or something, they've had heart attack. They've had anxiety or panic attacks. They're starting having problems as a consequence of them not honoring, not respecting this 888 rule. So bear in mind that whatever excess you take into your account, you're going to pay a crazy interest later on. And if you're out of this bracket, 45 to 44, 45 years old, even more than that. And recovering times are not going to be kind to you at all. So bear that in mind to help you in your time management. Also, activities you choose to do in your recreation time. Well, don't disturb your balance. The balance of the Force, like the Star Wars thing. That is, people that abuse any of these 3 slots of 8 hours, they pay a price on other aspects in their life. So you abuse and you take a lot of time from the sleep and rest, you're going to pay with your health. If you abuse your time and you neglect your family and your friends, you're going to pay a price. And you will certainly know loads of people whose marriage has been reaching rock bottom, or they've been divorced more than once, and they've divorced because maybe they neglected their better half. They thought that their career, the 8 hours of work, were more important, and instead of 8, they became 10, 14, 16, whatever it was. And then their personal life resented. So if you want a balanced, happy life, make sure that you honor those 3 slots of 8 hours. Another one, sometimes things happen in your life and you go through trauma. You experience some sort of personal drama in your life. Maybe you lose somebody, you go through a divorce, somebody dies, you got a health scare, whatever it is. And then some people pretend nothing has happened. And they say, okay, because I got this emotional trauma, or I'm going through this emotional phase, I should just go crazy work, because you know what, that's going to make me forget about my problem. The trouble is that they get involved in that situation, they get addicted because they think that overworking is helping them, and in reality what they're doing, they are postponing the dealing with the issue. So they start piling up anxiety, and after a while that anxiety just explodes and it's way worse than it could have been before. So what's the idea? Don't overwork yourself. If you are undergoing right now this emotional situation, try to take time off. And that doesn't mean stop working altogether. That's not what I mean. I mean, instead of maybe working 5 working days, why not asking with your boss, if you have a boss, or if you are the boss, take a 4-day working week instead of a 5-day working week, and do that for about 5 months, 6 months, even more if you feel that you need to, and then reevaluate and look how it's helping with your anxiety, because that psychohygiene has to be as important as any other part of your well-being. dental care, any other physical care that you're taking. And that's what we want to get. Follow the 888 rule, but make sure, be very mindful what happens when you don't follow this principle in a balanced way. So how do you decide how to manage time? How do you make sure that crucial tasks get done always? Well, the idea is to get your priorities clear. And it's very tiring, it's exhausting to have that feeling that I'm forgetting something. I'm multitasking all the time, and I'm trying to frantically remember everything I need to do, but it's kind of difficult. When you have an orderly way to manage your time, you feel so much better. You feel way calmer, less anxious, and you become a better leader as well. So if you have people that you look after, and they look up to you, even notice that you are calmer and less anxious, that really helps them to make progress, and they feel way better. Your organization works a lot better. So let's have a look at this Eisenhower matrix, which is one way that probably you've heard a million times on how to manage your time. If you're thinking about, okay, how am I prioritizing? Am I getting it right? How about applying this or using this simple tool, the Eisenhower matrix, every time you are doing planning? And you have some sort of template. I'd be more than happy to share with you an Excel that I've done to help you there. But it's super easy. If you're having a coffee or you're in a coffee place, on a cafe, you can just get a napkin or something. You could just draw this cross and to have these 4 quadrants and use it to categorize your tasks. And these 4 categories would be as follows. The essential, that means something that is important, super important, and is very time sensitive. Then the second quadrant will be the necessary. That means it's important. Maybe not the most important, but it's important too. And it's also time sensitive, but it's not a life or death situation. Nobody's going to die if I don't do this today. So that's the second quadrant. The third quadrant is, okay, it's not important, and it's somewhat time sensitive, but it's not that all that as compelling in this case that I do this right now. Do I really have to do this? And most of the time, if you find somebody else could do this task with the proper training, you should unburden yourself and delegate that properly. So maybe it's kind of urgent, but it's not that important. Let's have somebody else do it. And the fourth quadrant is it's not important and it's not urgent whatsoever. And then my question to you is, why did you commit to do it in the first place? And that's one of the things that I've learned painfully over time. I realized that if something is not that important, if something is not that urgent, and is not even relevant to my goals, to my objectives, I shouldn't say yes in the beginning. I shouldn't take that inside of my list, of my task list. So the idea is, if you're very committed, can you get away with not doing it? And next time that somebody wants you to do something, can you reassess if you have to say yes? And by the way, this leads to this idea on how to be assertive, how to make sure that you know how to say no to things that add zero value to your goals. And let me introduce this little thing here. A colleague of mine that I work with is a chartered financial planner, smashing guy. He shared with me a little card that he used to carry in his wallet, and now I carry it in my phone. Inside of the case, because it reminds me of the few principles that you can use to say no to anything difficult. And the process I'm going to share with you is to show courage and honesty when you say no. This 4-step process is like follows. I understand, but the second one is I feel. The third one is I want. And then, is that okay? So let me give you an example. I understand that you want me to do this, that you want us to do this within this week, but I feel that this task would be much more relevant for my colleague so and so because I'm already crowded, or my agenda is, my calendar is already full, or because I think my colleague is more suitable for to serve to this particular thing. That's what I feel. And third, I want to invite you to think to give it to them. I want to share with you that this is not a good time for me to take on this task. Or I want to tell you that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do this for you. How about going to so-and-so? Is that okay? You'd be surprised. Most of the time, that person is going to tell you, okay, that's fine. And then your worries about saying no were not really founded. And then what do you do if you observe, you use this technique, I understand, I feel, I want, is that okay? But you observe the hostile body language. And what do you do if they are not liking it? Well, you can say, well, I notice that you're doing this uneasy face, so I can sense or I can interpret that it means that you're not comfortable with that. Is that right? Well, let me put you out of your I would say misery, but that's not the word that I'm looking for. Let me guarantee to you that it's going to be way better if you go to so and so because they are really prepared to do that. So make sure that you know how to say no. This is only a small suggestion. Probably we're gonna talk about assertiveness. I don't know if assertivity I wanted to say, but assertiveness probably is better. In there, but how to say no. We're going to talk about this on another podcast. But I really like this framework, this Eisenhower matrix, because it's simple. It helps you to clarify your priorities, and you don't have to be, at ransom from everything that other people want you or expect you to do. You can control and organize yourself a little bit better. There's this guy, Brian Tracy. Super famous motivational public speaker and self-development author, and he suggests that, actually he states that there are usually 3 activities in your business that count for 90% of your goals and income. So this is the challenge. If you could only do one thing, and one thing only all day long, one thing that makes that difference to your income, to your revenue, and to achieving your goals, what would you do? What would be that thing that you would do for your company or for yourself? And once you got it, what is the second most important thing and the third most important thing? And the answers, you already have them. You just need to take the time off to force yourself to overcome procrastination and to think deeply about those 3 things that count for 90% of your success. That calls probably for the Pareto law as well. You've heard that the 20% of what we do amounts for the 80% of the success of the results. Well, he says 3 activities. So he breaks it down, Brian Tracy, to 3 single activities. So have a look at your calendar. Does your calendar reflect those 3 key actions and activities that bring you 90% of the results? Because if it doesn't, this is the time, man. This is the time to have a look at it and really take this strategic planning to the next level. And how can we do that? Well, first of all, probably you're already doing this or you have your own system of doing this, but isn't it true that it works best when you always plan your week or your month ahead? I love doing it on a Friday afternoon because that really helps me to clear my mind over the weekend, because I've got this nice feeling that I know what's going on next week, I know what's going on next month, and I'm okay with it. I feel somehow I control some of what is going on. You can't control everything, of course, and that's absolutely impossible because unexpected things are going to happen anyway, but it's so refreshing to have this feeling that you know what's going on, pretty much. And what's important is that you'll do it before the next week of the month begins. And this process could be something like this. So first of all, you book in your calendar the most important tasks. And what I'm doing, if you looked at my calendar, I'm using right now Google Calendar for donkey's years now. I used to use paper, these agendas, these diaries. And then I realized that it was more effective to me to have all my team seeing where I was, and they manage part of my calendar. That's not a little trick. I've got a PA that manages that for me. But the key thing here is that if you looked at my calendar, you can see big tasks, conferences, trainings, trips, congresses where I'm speaking, and they're already booked for a year. You can go into whatever it is in 6 months, in 12 months, in 18 months, and you find things that are already booked for me. What does that mean? I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to double book something. Things can happen, can go wrong. In fact, I had a disconnection or a confusion, a misunderstanding in my agenda some time ago, not very long ago, but that's the exception. That's the odd thing, is not something that happens all the time. So put the most important tasks in your calendar and then feed the smaller ones, and you're going to feel that you have more freedom to do other things. And the second aspect in here in this process is include MIP time and never move it. MIP time is time for you. It's strategic time that you spend with the most important person in your success, and that is you. Because if you're not okay, if you're not organized, you will not succeed. So that is your planning time. That's me time that you use for strategic thinking, for planning, for tactical activities, to analyze campaigns, future projects, what's going on right now in your business and in your profession and personally. The third part of the process is to schedule secondary tasks after you schedule. I'm missing my English. To schedule the main to-do items. And this is the time that you put everything else. You could argue that it's also important, but it's not that urgent because all the urgent things are already there. The fourth, then if you think in terms of the Eisenhower matrix, that's where you include anything that could be delegated. And then you book in there in the calendar follow-up times with colleagues, maybe because you already delegated with them, but now you need to assess how they're doing, to coach them a little bit further, or maybe you're delegating for the first time in some employees, and you need to have that time available and booked. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And then you're going to be very crappy, if I may say so, at delegating. And then you're going to have a cost because tasks that are already delegated are not going to be good quality, and some employees are going to feel disheartened or discouraged because they will feel that you're dropping the ball, that they don't really know how to do it, or even worse, they will do their own thing because you are not delegating properly, and then you will have crisis that you will have to sort out, and that will affect your time management later on. You're going to pay the price because you're going to have problems they will have to deal with that you have no time for. Then 5, don't forget to add the breaks. I've done that myself. Hey, I'm guilty as charged. I've done that in the past, that I'm so involved in a project, I'm so busy, I'm so pushed for time because I overbooked or overcommitted myself that I forgot to have lunch. Has that ever happened to you? Have you had that happening, that you forgot to have breakfast or dinner or lunch or whatever? And that affects a lot. And also to add breaks between commuting. I also had early stages when I started to become an entrepreneur that I booked myself so I was all spread so thin in my activities that I was traveling from one part of the country to another one, and I had no time to rest between commuting or to gather my thoughts between meetings. I was that naive in that moment. So I would finish a meeting, I would run straight into the next and just winging it with whatever preparation I did beforehand. But I didn't have the time to recollect, to gather my thoughts and to prepare mentally for the next meeting, for the next activity. And I thought I was doing okay. But when I realized what I was doing, what was happening, and I booked the times, and I told my PA, I need this time, not just for the commuting, for the traveling, but also I need time for a coffee or for a pause or for a tea between meetings. So I prepare for the next meeting. And then she started to book that. It has had a tremendous impact on the quality of my meetings, on the quality of my interactions, and people will notice that. They will be impressed with the quality of what you're doing. So this is a little bit of the idea that I wanted to share with you. Just a few ideas on time management. So if we recap, we talked about the importance of a balanced lifestyle and how that affects your use of time. If you understand and you implement these golden nugget, this 888 rule in your life, that will have an impact in how you work. That will have an impact on how people perceive you in your business, your family, your friends, yourself, your self-esteem, your confidence when you do things. It's so important that we respect that and we honor that balanced lifestyle. The second part is the importance of prioritizing your tasks. And you can use any tool that works for you. This Eisenhower matrix is one that I suggested when I was helping develop this professional program for marketers. And I suggested the Eisenhower matrix. In fact, I gave them the template that I use all the time. And I use that with my consulting clients as well. Prioritize your tasks in terms of urgent or very urgent and very important things that you have to do right now. And usually you're going to find in there those 3 tasks, these 3 kind of activities that account for 90% of your income and your results and your goals. And then you have the other quadrant, which has to do with things that are urgent and important, but not the most urgent and most important. Then on the third quadrant, you have the ones that are also time sensitive, but they are not that urgent, and you could delegate them. And the last one, things that you can just dismiss, potentially. And probably they shouldn't even enter your to-do list in the first place. And then we talked about the importance of using the calendar to a better standard, to use it a bit better, and sticking to it. And when you stick to your calendar, that includes also activities from the other quadrants in the golden nugget. And what does that mean? That in your calendar you got time booked to rest or to be with family or for a hobby. That should be as sacred as time for work, and vice versa. Time for recreation, time for sleeping, time for work should be sacred. So when you're working, you don't mess around with other activities. When you're resting or when you're in recreation mode, you don't mess about with that. And that includes also your MIP time. Time for planning, strategic planning, or strategic MIP sessions. You don't mess about with that. Nothing is more important than you taking care of your organization and your time management. So when a client calls, it doesn't matter how important they are. They can wait until you finish your meeting. Usually, unless you are a surgeon and somebody's going to die if you don't leave what you're doing right now and go with a client, usually that never happens. In your industry, very likely nobody is going to die. And guess what? If you say no to a client to Monday mornings because, for example, Monday mornings is your MIP time and you're planning your week or whatever, that client is going to take that no and is going to be okay with it. He's going to live with it and he's not going to love you or like you any less because you are saying, okay, I can't do Monday morning first time, but I can do Monday afternoon, whatever it is that you're going to suggest. Also, we talked about the importance of delegating. Some business owners hate delegating because they think it's a waste of time and they think, okay, if I do it myself, it's going to be way faster. I actually don't have the time nor the patience to train somebody else to do this. Guess what? You're going to be a slave in your business for the rest of your life. The basis of escalating your business is stop doing what you're doing as soon as you do it well and train somebody else in your business to do it. Train them properly. And that means doing it for them, doing it with them, then looking at them while they do it and providing valuable feedback, and then continuously monitoring how they're doing, following up with them. Hey, how is it going? This thing that I delegated on you, you're doing it so well. I don't think you need me anymore. Is there anything else that you need to keep on doing this task? And usually when you follow that process, you are already in a great position to manage your time and to have a lot of time back, because you're stopping from doing things that probably are not those three things that amount for the 90% of revenue and success. So that's my bid on this week. I hope you enjoy this subject, time management. Surely you have a lot of tools and a lot of ideas that you can share. I would love to listen your comments, listen to your ideas, and share this podcast episode if you think it was valuable. And see you in the next episode of Sales Strategy. This is Nathan Manzaneke, a business owner and consultant in marketing and sales, and a speaker. So if you're an ambitious person and you're looking for advanced growth in your business to help you achieve your objectives, or maybe you want to know where to place your focus in your business for this current growth phase in your business, please come and visit nathanmanzaneke.com. I'll be more than pleased to help you with your objectives.